I am the dog who waited 7 years for my human. For 7 years, I waited at the same train station, every single day. Through rain, snow, burning summer heat, and freezing winter nights. People called me crazy, they called me lost, they called me stubborn. But I wasn't any of those things. I was loyal, and I knew something they didn't. Love doesn't end just because someone stops coming home. My name is Hachiko. Well, that's what he called me. My human, Professor Ueno, the man who gave me purpose, the man I would wait for until my very last breath. But before I tell you about the waiting, I need to tell you about the beginning. Because you can't understand loyalty without understanding love first. I was born in the winter of 1923 in Odate, a small city in northern Japan. Cold place. Beautiful place. Mountains covered in snow that looked like they touched the sky. I was an Akita, which means I was bred for loyalty, for patience, for enduring harsh conditions. But I didn't know any of that yet. I was just a puppy trying to stay warm next to my mother. When I was 2 months old, a man came to see me. Professor Hidesaburo Ueno. He was a scholar, a professor of agriculture at Tokyo Imperial University. Tall for a Japanese man of that time. Kind eyes. Gentle hands. When he picked me up, I could smell something on him that I would come to know as home. A mix of books, tea, and something else. Something that was just him. He chose me out of all my siblings. I don't know why. Maybe he saw something in me. Maybe I saw something in him. All I know is that when he held me against his chest, I could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong, and I thought to myself, this is my person. The train ride to Tokyo was long. I was scared. Everything was new and loud and overwhelming, but he kept his hand on my head the whole time, and that made it bearable. That's when I learned my first lesson about love. It's not about grand gestures. It's about a hand staying steady when everything else is shaking. Our home in Shibuya was small but warm. His wife was there, and she was kind too, though I could tell she wasn't sure about having a dog at first. But the professor loved me immediately and completely. That first night, I cried because I missed my mother. He brought me to his bed and let me sleep next to him. I could feel his breath, slow and calm, and eventually, I stopped crying. Those early days were about learning the layout of the house, learning the sound of his footsteps, different from everyone else's, learning that when he sat at his desk working, I should lie quietly at his feet, learning that every morning at 7, he would leave for the university, and every evening at 5, he would return. But here's what I really learned. I learned his rhythms, the way he moved through the world. I learned that he hummed softly when he was happy, that he rubbed his temples when he was tired, that he always checked on me before he went to sleep, even if I was already sleeping. I learned the weight of his worry, the lightness of his joy, all through scent and sound and the energy he carried. After a few months, we developed our routine. Every morning I would walk with him to Shibuya Station. It was about a 10-minute walk from our house. We would go slowly because he liked to enjoy the morning air. Sometimes he would talk to me about his day ahead, about his students, about his research. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. I understood that he was sharing his world with me. At the station, he would pat my head, look into my eyes, and say, "Be good, Hachiko. I'll see you this evening." Then he would board the train, and I would watch until it disappeared. And every evening at 5, I would be there waiting. I always knew when it was time. I didn't need a clock. I could feel it in my bones, in my blood, some internal compass that pointed toward the moment he would return. I would position myself at the edge of the platform where I could see the train arriving. My whole body would tense with anticipation. And then I would see him, stepping off the train, looking for me, and when our eyes met, his whole face would light up. That moment, that single moment when we saw each other again after being apart all day, that was everything. That was the reason I existed. He would kneel down, no matter how tired he was, and I would rush to him. He would scratch behind my ears in that specific spot that made my back leg kick. He would tell me about his day, and then we would walk home together, side by side, his hand occasionally reaching down to touch my head, just to make sure I was still there. This happened every single day for a year and a half. Every single day. Rain or shine, cold or hot, sick or healthy. We never missed our meeting at 5 o'clock. The other commuters started to recognize us. Station workers knew my name. Sometimes people would bring me water or a small treat while I waited. I became part of the rhythm of that station, as predictable as the trains themselves. I didn't know it then, but I was living the best days of my life. Days where everything made sense, where my purpose was clear, where love was simple and uncomplicated. May 21st, 1925. That was the day everything ended. That morning started like every other morning. The professor woke up, got dressed, had his breakfast. I walked with him to the station. He patted my head. "Be good, Hachiko. I'll see you this evening." But there was something different. I felt it. A tremor in the air. A shift in his scent. Something wrong that I couldn't name. I didn't want him to leave. I whined. I pulled on his sleeve with my teeth, gently but insistently. He laughed and scratched my ears. "What's wrong, boy? I'll be back soon. I always come back." But something in me knew. Dogs know things. We sense things that humans miss. Death has a smell, a feeling. And it was there that morning, hovering around him like a shadow I could see, but he couldn't. I watched him board the train. I watched it pull away. And I had this horrible sinking feeling that I would never see him again. At 5 o'clock, I was at the station like always, waiting, watching every person who stepped off the train, looking for his face, his gait, the specific way he moved through crowds. He didn't come. I waited until 6, until 7, until the station workers started closing up for the night. One of them, Mr. Kobayashi, approached me gently. "Hachiko, you should go home. The professor must have worked late." But I didn't want to go home. I wanted to wait. So I did. I waited outside the station all night, lying on the cold ground, my eyes fixed on the tracks. He didn't come. The next morning, the professor's wife came to the station. Her eyes were red. She was crying. She knelt down beside me and wrapped her arms around my neck. "Hachiko," she whispered, her voice breaking, "he's not coming back. He's gone." I didn't understand. Gone where? He always came back. Always. What I didn't know then, what I wouldn't understand until much later, was that the professor had collapsed at the university. A cerebral hemorrhage. They said he died instantly. They said he didn't suffer. But I suffered. Every cell in my body suffered. Because he had promised he would see me that evening, and he broke his promise. Except he didn't break it. He couldn't keep it. There's a difference. But I didn't know that yet. The professor's wife tried to take me home. I went with her because she smelled like him. The house smelled like him. His clothes, his books, his chair, everything carried his scent. I would lie on his side of the bed and breathe in deeply, trying to memorize it before it faded. But every day at 5 o'clock, something inside me would pull, an invisible thread connecting me to that station. I needed to be there. I needed to wait. Because what if today was the day he came back? At first, his wife tried to keep me home. She would lock the doors, but I would howl and scratch until she let me out. Eventually, she stopped trying to stop me. She understood in her own way that this was something I needed to do. So every day, I would walk to Shibuya Station, and every day, I would wait from 5 until the last train came. And every day, he didn't come. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The first year was the hardest. Every day, I expected him. Every day, my heart would race when I saw someone who looked like him from behind, or walked like him, or wore similar clothes. Every day I was disappointed. The station workers felt sorry for me. Mr. Kobayashi started bringing me food. Other commuters would stop and pat my head. Some looked at me with pity, others with confusion. Why would a dog keep waiting for someone who was clearly never coming back? But they didn't understand. Loyalty isn't about logic. It's not about odds or probability. It's about love. And love doesn't have an expiration date. The seasons changed. Summer came with its oppressive heat. I would lie in whatever shade I could find at the station, panting, thirsty, but never leaving. Autumn arrived with its cooling winds and falling leaves that covered the platform in shades of red and gold. Winter brought snow and cold so bitter that my bones ached. But I waited. People started bringing me blankets during winter. Someone built me a small shelter near the station entrance. I became a fixture there, as permanent as the benches and the ticket gates. Year 2 came, then year 3. My body started to change. I wasn't a young dog anymore. My joints hurt. My vision wasn't as sharp. I developed sores from lying on hard ground. But still, I waited. Sometimes I would dream about him. In my dreams, everything was like it used to be. We would walk to the station together. He would board the train. And then at 5 o'clock, he would step off and see me waiting. And his face would light up with that smile that meant everything was right in the world. Then I would wake up, and he still wouldn't be there. Year 4, year 5. A journalist noticed me. His name was Mr. Saito. He started coming to the station to observe me, to talk to the workers and commuters who had watched me waiting all these years. He wrote an article about me, called me the loyal dog. The story spread across Japan. People started coming to Shibuya Station specifically to see me, to witness this dog who refused to give up. Some thought it was beautiful. Others thought it was tragic. Some thought I was stupid for wasting my life waiting for someone who was never coming back. But I didn't care what they thought. This wasn't for them. This was for him. This was my promise. Just as he had promised to see me every evening, I promised to be there waiting. And I was going to keep my promise even if he couldn't keep his. Year 6 came. I was getting old now. My muzzle had turned gray. I moved slower. Some days, I could barely walk to the station. But I went anyway. Because what if today was the day? The country fell in love with my story. Children came to pet me. Artists painted me. Poets wrote about me. I became a symbol of something. Loyalty, devotion, unconditional love. But I wasn't trying to be a symbol. I was just trying to be faithful to the only person who ever mattered to me. Some nights, I would lie at the station and wonder if I was crazy. Everyone else had moved on. The professor's wife had eventually passed away too. The world kept spinning. People's lives continued. But I was stuck in this loop, this endless cycle of waiting and disappointment. And yet I couldn't stop, because somewhere deep inside me, in a place that logic couldn't reach, I still believed. I still had faith. I still knew that love this strong couldn't just end. Not really. Year 7, March 8, 1935. Almost 10 years to the day since the professor died. That morning I woke up feeling different. Tired. So tired. My body hurt in ways it hadn't before. But still I made my way to the station. Slower than usual. Each step an effort. I took my usual spot. 5 o'clock came and went. The trains arrived and departed. People rushed past me, heading home to their families. And then something strange happened. I smelled him. Not his actual scent. That had faded from the world, years ago. But something, a memory of his scent, a ghost of it, carried on the wind. I lifted my head, and for just a moment I swear I saw him, standing at the edge of the platform, wearing his favorite coat, smiling at me with those kind eyes. "Hello, Hachiko," he said. Or maybe I just imagined he said. "I'm sorry I kept you waiting so long." I tried to stand up, to run to him like I used to, but my legs wouldn't work. My body was giving up. He came to me instead, knelt down beside me, put his hand on my head, in that spot behind my ears. "You waited for me," he whispered. "All this time you waited. Good boy. Such a good boy." I wanted to tell him that of course I waited, that I would have waited forever, that waiting for him was the most important thing I ever did. But I couldn't form the words. Dogs can't speak. We can only love. "It's okay now," he said softly. "You can rest. You don't have to wait anymore. I'm here now. I'm finally here." And just like that, the weight I'd been carrying for 7 years lifted. The ache in my chest that had lived there since the day he didn't come home finally eased. I laid my head down on the cold platform of Shibuya Station, the place where I had spent more hours of my life than anywhere else, the place where I had loved him most, purely because it was the place where we reunited every single day. People say I died of old age, of kidney failure and malnutrition and exposure to the elements, and maybe that's technically true. But I know the real reason I died. I died because my purpose was complete. I had kept my promise. I had been faithful. I had proven that love doesn't end just because someone stops coming home. They found me the next morning, lying in my usual spot. Some people cried. Mr. Kobayashi, who had fed me for years, broke down completely. The news of my death spread across the country. People mourned me like I was a national hero. They held a funeral for me. Can you imagine? A funeral for a dog. At the same station where I had waited all those years, hundreds of people came. People who had never met me, but who had followed my story. People who needed to believe in something pure and uncomplicated in a world that was becoming increasingly complicated. They built a statue of me at Shibuya Station, bronze, life-sized, positioned exactly where I used to wait. It's still there today, almost 90 years later. People from all over the world come to see it. They take pictures, they touch my bronze head for good luck, they bring flowers and leave them at my feet. But here's what I want you to understand. I didn't wait for recognition. I didn't wait to become famous. I didn't wait to prove a point or teach a lesson. I waited because that's what love is. Love is showing up. Love is being present even when it hurts. Love is keeping your promise even when the other person can't keep theirs. The professor didn't abandon me. He didn't stop loving me. He just couldn't come back. And I knew, somewhere in my soul, that if he could have, he would have. So I waited. I gave him the benefit of every doubt. I held space for him. I remained faithful. And in the end, that faithfulness wasn't wasted. Because it changed something. It reminded people that loyalty still exists. That unconditional love is real. That some bonds transcend death itself. I've been gone for a long time now. But my story hasn't died. Parents tell it to their children. Teachers tell it to their students. It's become part of Japanese culture, part of human understanding about what it means to love completely. They call me Chukin Hachiko now. Faithful Dog Hachiko. But I was never trying to be faithful in an abstract sense. I was just trying to be faithful to him, to that one person who chose me, who loved me, who made my life meaningful. If I could go back and do it all again, knowing how it would end, I wouldn't change a thing. Those 7 years of waiting weren't wasted. They were sacred. They were my gift to him. My way of saying thank you for every morning walk, every evening reunion, every moment he made me feel like I mattered. Some people think my story is sad. They see only the waiting, the loneliness, the disappointment. But they're missing the point. My story isn't about loss. It's about love. Real love. The kind that doesn't quit when things get hard. The kind that doesn't calculate cost and benefit. The kind that simply exists because existing without it is unthinkable. The professor gave me 1.5 years of perfect happiness, and I gave him 7 years of perfect loyalty. That's not tragedy. That's completion. Somewhere beyond this world, I like to think we're together again, walking to a station that we never have to leave, where trains arrive but we don't need to board them because we're already where we need to be, where 5 o'clock means reunion, not separation, and maybe that's heaven. Not harps and clouds and angels, just being with the one you love forever, without the pain of parting. My name is Hachiko. I'm the dog who waited 7 years at Shibuya Station. I am the dog who proved that love is stronger than death. I am the dog who showed the world that loyalty isn't foolishness. It's the highest form of love. And if you take nothing else from my story, take this. When you love someone, show up for them. Be present, be faithful, be loyal. Not because you'll be rewarded, not because it's easy, not because it makes sense, but because that's what love does. Love shows up. Love waits. Love remains. Even when everyone says it's pointless. Even when logic says to give up. Even when your body is failing and your heart is breaking. Love waits. And in the end, that waiting is never wasted. Because the person you're waiting for, somewhere, somehow, knows. They feel it. They're grateful for it. And maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for you too. On the other side of time, on the other side of death. At a station where the trains always arrive on time and no one ever has to say goodbye. Subscribe if my story touched your heart, because there are millions of animals who love this deeply, and their stories deserve to be remembered.